This episode, tips for helping you move your cargo/loads. Well, once again, I am amazed being on the roads about how many people are literally trying to kill me by not properly tying down their cargo/loads. And we're talking loads. I'll tell you why we're talking loads in a minute. But anyway, we're going to get this show is about tips and tricks on how to securely move cargo and or your load. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is entitled Tips for Helping You Move Your Cargo/Loads. We're calling them cargo/loads because Johnny said something about coffee and a load, and I said, well, we're going to change it to cargo. And to help me explain that, here's my old buddy
Larry,
Johnny.
freestyling there.
Freestyle.
Well, we were talking about this before, and I'll bring it up again. Those sod trucks. I'm going to bring that up again. Those sod trucks that have the canvas covering on the side, and I saw one of those. Go around one of these roundabouts that we all are getting. On the road, and that thing just almost tipped over. Where they must have only taken the sod out of one side of it.
Of course, that's what they did, John. Of course.
And it was absolutely scary.
Downright scary. Yeah,
it was very scary. I mean, if that thing went over, there's cars waiting to enter the circle. That thing could have just fallen right over on a car waiting to get into the circle.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be a professional driver that knows what he's doing. Now, I understand. I was in the trucking business. I understand why they do that, because they're called curtain side trailers.
Yes.
They're really, really hard to get the curtain sides up and down. And so, the driver's like, oh, I'm only going a few miles down the road, just unload from the one side. If a police officer had seen him, he'd gotten a huge DOT ticket. Huge, like, dude, you're out of bounds, blah, blah, blah. But they're never around when you want them around. They're only around when you don't want them around. Anyway, I digress. Slowly, but,
the typical police story right there, right?
Yeah, and
there's never one when you need.
I'm not being critical. It's just that, and this is how these accidents happen, and it's no different for yourself. If you're moving stuff around, we just wanted to give you some tips. I want to give you some basic data. This comes from the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety. Poorly secured loads are responsible for more than 25,000 crashes and 90 fatalities annually. Here's the rub. Any of this stuff that happens and any damage that is caused is the responsibility of who? The guy hauling the load. That's right. You, me, whoever's got the load on. So we want to give you some real life tips about tying things down. And this is largely geared towards open loads, like things on a pickup truck or a trailer that's open to the ground. This isn't inside a van or inside a vehicle. It's also not on top of a car, like tied to a luggage rack. I suggest that you don't do that in general, because they're not really made to hold a load, particularly a wind-loaded item like a sheet of plywood or Johnny's. We've done this type of show before, and Johnny tells this great story about a guy who he did the magic carpet ride on a mattress
on I-95 in Miami.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah. And the mattress flies up in the air with a man on top of it because it's a giant sail. And Johnny, that guy, the luckiest guy in the world. I'd have played the lottery that night. Lands flat in the middle of the median. Flat.
Well, we went down the side of the hill, and one of the guys I worked with stopped. I had seen it happen. I mean, 95 is like, man, it's like a jillion cars. I kept going. He was behind me, pulls over, and they all went to the hospital together, and he was.
Oh, did he get hurt?
No,
did he get hurt?
Not my buddy, but the guy on the mattress absolutely did. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't dead.
No, he was not dead. He came crawling up out of the thing, just totally filled with blood, but full of blood. It was a mess.
Anyway, so we're not talking about on top of cars, is what we're not. So to kind of give you an idea, this is about in the back of a pickup or on a trailer, that's open to the ground. First tip is always get the right equipment, right, John?
Yep.
And for me, I am a ratchet strap guy. I grew up, my dad owned a boat store, and trust me, I've tied many on with rope, and I know how to do it. And there's tips and tricks and techniques for using rope, but for the average person, in my opinion, don't use rope. And Johnny, you had some stuff to add about rope.
Well, I think one of the first thing that comes to mind is, you got to think this stuff through. So I would say that, if you don't do this very often and you think you're going to go down to a big box store and pick up, whatever and put it on top of your car, or even if you have a trailer, and you really aren't familiar with all this stuff, you really do need to think it through.
Yeah, the twine they give you.
The twine, they're not. The rope that they're going to give you is, I would be leery of that.
I wouldn't tie my dog up with it.
So I would be careful of that, right? So, think it through. If you don't do a lot, if you want to learn how to tie like truckers' hitches and things like that, just go on YouTube. There's plenty of videos on tying knots. It's not hard, but if you don't do it all the time, so there's that. The best thing to do is just to buy those ratchet straps.
Yeah, they're very inexpensive. Get the 1,000-pound ones, right? Because you want to make sure they're strong, and they're I don't know, they're $10 for 4 or something like that. Here's the other advantage to having the ratchet straps, and that is you can find uses for them other places. And I like to tell, the last time I used it for another use, we were actually hanging some 16-foot floor joists in a house, and we were trying to level up the floor joists. And brother, picking up a 16-foot joist is a heavy experience, and we were trying to get it precise because we were trying to get the floor nice and level. And I'm like, man, I can't do this by hand. It was myself and another guy. So I took a 2x4, I stuck it in the ground, and I wrapped the strap up over the top, and I could slowly ratchet it up on my ratchet strap, literally tiny bit by tiny bit. We got it perfect, screwed it in, piece of cake, right? So you'll use them for other things as well if you put your brain behind it, right? So do that. One of the other tools that I do like is a net, a load net. If you're doing particularly bulky, light things, and if you've got a pickup truck, you can secure it over the top, and it keeps stuff from blowing out over the top. It's really, really good for that. If you're going to do a lot of long load stuff, and again, you might think about getting a hitch extender bar. If you have a trailer hitch, they make the 1-inch square tubes that kind of look like a T, and you can extend it out past the pickup truck bed. It's really good for long loads. If you do a lot of long loads, you probably already have it. Another thing is if you load a lot of stuff in the back, and you can use this in a car as well. If you load a lot of small stuff like paint cans and just stuff that might roll around, you can get a retaining bar. There's actually a bar that'll wedge into the sides, and it'll stop the stuff from moving fore and aft, particularly when you step on the brake. And then also, if you're doing a lot of long loads of light things like, I don't know, drywall corner bead and stuff like that, or anything that, even some types of like light pipe and just things that are kind of loose, you can get stretch wrap, and you just stretch wrap around it. And it works for lumber too. It's just generally lumber you can use a ratchet strap for and just wrap it around, and it'll tighten up and keep it from moving.
But these are a lot, but to your point, this is a lot of options that you're talking about here that you can, if you put your mind to it. If you're going to buy a bunch of stuff, it whatever it might be, hey, you know what? Some of that stretch wrap, great stuff, man.
Yeah.
I mean, for certain applications, where do you get that? At the moving section of?
The moving section of the big box stores has it. You can go to any, pretty much any like moving, like a pack and ship stores have it too if you want to. It's really all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get it. I'll tell you. So the other thing too, this is something that we haven't touched on yet. But one of the other things is if you strap your things down properly, and this I mention it because of stretch wrap, it also stops your product from being destroyed, right? And I always know it's like one of my favorites is doing corner bead for drywall. It's so flimsy, for lack of a better word, that if you wrap it, you make it structurally stronger so it doesn't get bent.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just kind of one of the other lumber. Same thing. If you're carrying big sheets of long lumber, put your bigger lumber underneath and things like that. That is a tip that's coming up. But you want your long lumber underneath. You put your shorter lumber on top of that, and then you can actually take and put your more flimsy items like corner bead or piping to a certain degree, just things that could get destroyed, and you wrap it, and then all of a sudden it's secure. So you're actually helping yourself save some time and money, and then conversely aggravation, because getting to the job site and missing product because it blew out of your truck is not a fun gig. Right, John?
No.
Have you ever had that happen? I have.
I haven't. But you know, all you have to think about is when you're driving down the road and you see all kinds of crap on the side of the road. That's your clue.
Where'd it come from?
I mean, there's everything, right? Hats, gloves, insulation, miscellaneous shoes. Pieces of wood. You know, gas.
Shoes are my favorite. How do you lose a shoe driving down the road? Whatever.
You know what? One of my favorite is, sometimes when these guys are just going from house to house with landscaping, those open landscaping trucks or the trailers.
Yeah.
The trailer with the expanded steel.
Yep.
And they don't put the gas cap back on properly on the, and they're leaving a trail of gas all the way down the road. So I'm, you drive behind it and I'm smelling gas. I'm like, oh man,
makes you long for a cigarette, doesn't it?
It's like, did I do what happened to my car here? Did I pop something? I'm like, oh my God. And I look down, there's a big trail of gas in front of me. I'm like, oh man, that's all I need is that all over my car.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got the right equipment. Now what do you do, right? I mean, I hate to say this, but what do you so you bought ratchet straps and you're going to stretch some stuff down. What do you strap it to, right? All right. Now, I'm just going to say it flat out. Don't attach it to the fenders, folks. The cutouts in the fenders at the top, because if you put enough pressure on the sheet metal of your truck, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to pull your truck bed together and bend the living snot out of your truck bed, or you're actually going to rip the metal out of the truck bed. I've seen it. I've deformed truck beds before using straps doing that. I would tell you, don't do it. Have load rings. Now, a lot of the newer vehicles have load rings built in. And what a load ring is, it's attached to the frame and it's just a little D-ring basically, and it's set in there, and hook it to the D-ring. If you can't get to the D-rings, put your truck bed down and attach it to the bumper or the frame. Either way, you want something really, really secure. Sheet metal is not it. It is not it. Now, if you're going to hook a load net on, yes, you can hook it to the sheet metal, but those are for lightweight items and they don't put a lot of force on that net. So do that. It's physics, folks. Remember, this stuff's heavy and it's got a lot of motion with it when you run it down the road. When you drive over that bump, that 1,000-pound load moves up and it doesn't stop until you hit go over the top. So make sure that you've got, some way to do, to make sure it's secured, and you want it secured to something that's strong, so that's frame. Bumpers are usually pretty strong, provided it's a metal bumper. Attach it to your trailer hitch. If you have a trailer hitch, that's going to be really strong, really, really strong. So think about that, right? I did mention on lumber, if you're doing long lumber, put your tailgate down. Try not to put it over the top of the tailgate, because the tailgate is not a structural beam. It is not designed to carry a lot of weight on it. Even if you spread it out, you can pull the straps down and bend your tailgate. I see it all the time, John. I think you do too. Lay the thing down, and again, put the straps over the top of that and attach it to something like the bumper itself. Make sure it's really, really strong. And that's part of the reason why we don't talk about rope, because rope is a little less conducive to doing those things. So, just be aware. Crisscross your straps. So do over the top and crisscross. And if you're doing long sheet goods like drywall or something like that, crisscross it all the way up from corner to corner. That actually gives structural rigidity to the whole piece, if you don't have anything under it, although you should have something under it. Buy the lumber, put it under there, take the lumber back. That's my opinion on moving sheetrock in particular, because getting to the job site and finding broken sheets of sheetrock is annoying.
Not good.
Yeah, it's annoying at best. Yes, you can fix it, but right. And whose fault is it? Usually mine. So or the driver's fault. So it is what it is. I have this saying: is there ever too many straps? Guess what? No.
Yeah. No.
If you think you have too few, you better add some. It's just that simple. If it feels like it's not right, go add something.
Well,
fix it.
I think back to, if you're going to start hauling stuff around, you're responsible.
Yes, you are.
And you had that they had 25,000. What did it say?
25,000 accidents and then 90 casualties or 90 deaths. And
yeah,
that
annually.
didn't include how many injuries are included in that. So I don't, for me, I don't want to kill anybody and I don't want to injure anybody on this deal, for negligence on my part.
Yeah.
Right.
No kidding. It's kind of interesting that, you look at some of these great big 18-wheelers that are going down the highway with the flatbeds.
Yep.
And they're hauling those 25-ton steel coils.
Yes.
I'm like,
and they use chains.
And they use chains.
And they know what they're doing.
Yep. Look, and just take away with that what you will. I always, when I look at that, I'm always like, yep, they know what they're doing. But if one of those things comes off there,
you're dead. And it happens.
Oh, it happens.
And I'm not trying to, again, it's not to scare you. It's just these things happen. It's just kind of part of the thing. Don't be casual about small loads too. Just because it's light and it's small, it's physics, folks.
Yeah.
If you take a 2-pound object going 60 miles an hour, and if it's got any kind of point on it, if it's not a big flat piece, it becomes a projectile that will go through a window, through steel, through you.
It's like, electrical conduit's a perfect example.
Great example.
It's light, and it's like, just throw this in the back and go. But man, you let's say that you have to slam on the brakes because of somebody's running a stop sign or something. That thing's going to launch out of there, out of the back of your, over the top of your cab.
Yeah.
That thing's a javelin, man.
Yeah, your tools too. Same thing. Just if they're loose, and I'm not saying you need to secure everything down, but just, it's physics, folks.
Yeah, it's physics.
It's physics. It just is what it is, and
Newton takes over at that point.
Yeah, Newton takes over at that point, right? It's just kind of is what it is. And then one other thing too is if you have a long load, they do supply flags at the big box stores. Now they're just pieces of plastic, but staple one to the end of the load. Staple
please,
it.
So please do that, folks. Please, because
or tie it on there or whatever it is. There's
put something on the back. Don't. I see guys running around with lumber sticking out the back.
Every day.
I'm like, are you without something back there saying, hey, this is all the way, this is where I'm at, because people can pull up behind you and just get crunched.
Well, because they're busy playing on their phones, Johnny.
Yeah, well, there's that. Okay, there's that, and I mean, if you're not paying attention, and sometimes it's hard to see when it's right in front of your eyes of like lumber.
Yep.
A 2x4 or whatever you have, sticking straight out, and that thing might be 4 feet behind the tailgate.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And people really don't pay attention, as they really don't. They don't see it. They don't process it.
I tell you what, that's why stuff like this is why I always carry a roll of that surveyor's tape with me everywhere.
Yep.
Just to mark. I use that stuff constantly, but in this case, it's just wrap a bunch of that stuff around the back, make it, put flashing lights or something. That scares the hell out of me when I see that kind of activity going down the highway. I'm just waiting for somebody to not be paying attention. They're texting on the phone, whatever. They're distracted driving. And then they have to, you get close to that, you're done.
Well, or you're that or you're causing damage to their car. I mean, if you've got the load low, it goes right through the grill, through the radiator, and then and it's like, oh geez,
yeah,
here, oh my God, and then that's very expensive as well. Not that it's all about money, but oh my God, for the cost or for taking the minutes to go grab the plastic that's sitting right there at the loading bay on the commercial section of all the big box stores. They've all got big rolls of this red plastic. I don't know what it is. It's like a shipping material, but they've got it all sitting there. Just go take it and put it on. That's all you got to do. just flag it, put a flag on it. That's all it takes. So yeah. So anything else, John? Are we missing anything? Did we miss anything?
No, I just, I always go back to, if you don't do this a lot, think it through. So just don't run down to the big box store, say, I'm going to go pick up a 4x8 sheet of plywood, throw it on the top of my car and go. Yeah, really think this through, and think about everything that could happen. That's just, so
yeah, that's
the only thing I would leave you with. I mean, the rest of these are great tips, for, what kind of materials, what kind of, instruments like the straps, the ratchet stuff to use, but, learn how to use it. So like I said,
and again, to your point, Johnny, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there too. Also, just go look at them. I mean, we could make some, but there's no reason to remake them. We probably should just post some up on our site, the good ones that we like, and just go through them, because it's just crazy. It's not that it's dangerous, but it is dangerous, and it's twofold too. You're protecting your own stuff. You don't want to get to the job site and be missing parts. It's just not so much fun.
Right.
It's like, oh shit, and I've had it happen, so I know, it's not, and I'm not.
Oh yeah. Well, we've all had that happen. I mean,
mostly for me, it's been the lightweight stuff, and it blows out, and I don't realize it. Is what it usually is for me. It's not the heavy stuff. It's not the lumber or anything like that. It's always the lightweight stuff. And next thing I know, you never see it. You think you're going to see it, you don't see it. It just doesn't. It's gone. And it's boom. It's off in the weeds, and nobody's getting hurt or anything, but it just is what it is. All right, Johnny. Do the spaceships, do they strap their loads down? You think?
That's shocking, Larry. I don't know how to respond to that.
All right, folks. And with that, please like and subscribe our station, and so forth and so on. If you have any questions at handymanprosradioshow.com, or leave us a note in one of the comments on the videos or on any of the shows or anything. We do read all that stuff eventually, and we do get around to answering it in most cases. Got a Facebook group too that's at Handyman Pros. So if you're interested in getting a hold of us, we'd love some ideas too on any kind of new show topics or anything you want for that stuff as well. So, all right, Johnny, take us home, baby.
All right, folks, stay out from behind Larry, because there could be some empty beer cans blowing out of the truck. And all right, seriously, now I got to be serious. All right, folks, have a great week. Have a great week, and we'll be safe, and we'll see you next time on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.